name is Assemblywoman Grace Meng, and it's such an honor for me to be here today. My brother actually graduated from St. John's, so I'm very excited to be back here. I just want to thank the St. John's community and the St. John's family for hosting this wonderful event. And, you know, I think that the students know more than some of us politicians. I'm very impressed with your questioning. But anyway, my name is Grace. I have been an Assemblywoman for about 3.5 years now. I was born in Corona, raised in Bayside, and currently live in Flushing with my family. We are raising our 2 sons, Tyler and Brandon, ages 3 and 4. As a kid, I attended Redeemer Lutheran School in Bayside, then Stuyvesant High School, University of Michigan, and Cardozo School of Law Yeshiva. I'm very excited to be here today to talk about a race that's very important, and this year's elections, which are really important. I'm so glad to see so many young people interested and involved in this year's elections. Really proud of you. As an Assemblywoman, I sponsored and passed 9 of my bills into legislation and did my best to work on a bipartisan level, reaching across the aisle, allowing Republicans to sign on my bills, and very thankful to be able to pass legislation with both Republican and Democratic support. I'm running for Congress to replace current Congressman Gary Ackerman. I'm proud to have his endorsement. Gary Ackerman, as you know, is the current congressman that has been the Congress member in this district for the last 30 years. This district also contains parts of the district that belongs to our esteemed Congressman Bob Turner and a little bit of Congressman Joe Crowley's district as well. I'm running for Congress, really to continue the work that I've already been doing as an Assemblywoman. Right now, Congress only has 17% of its body that are women. We need more women in Congress. I sponsored legislation in the New York State Assembly that basically allows and requires equal pay for men and women. It's common sense legislation, and it's legislation that I would support in Congress as well. I'm running to make sure that middle-class families get the tax breaks that they deserve. In the Assembly, I was very proud to vote for and support legislation that decreased taxes on all middle-class families. So unless your family makes $2 million or more, your taxes actually went down in New York State. I differ a little bit from the Democratic Party in that I would support tax increases for families making $1 million or more, but not necessarily for families making $250,000 or more. I think it's important that America, sorry, it's really sensitive. I think it's important that America is put back on track. America needs to be the strong America that it once was. We need to make sure that our government, that we focus on subsidizing education and not oil companies and not helping big corporations who send jobs overseas when we need jobs so badly right here in America and right here in New York. I have a plan to help create Queens jobs. For example, and recently you all know that there's a new partnership between Cornell and Technion and Roosevelt Island, and we want to make sure that Queens benefits from some of those partnerships and those opportunities as well. We want to make sure that our increased technology firms increase opportunities and invest in our local students. We need to make sure that our students have the best skills and tools that they can get to be able to compete globally with kids from all around the world. Something that's really important. Yesterday I was with Congressman Steve Israel at Queens College, and we stood with a bunch of students and to hear their concerns about high-interest student loans. This year we watched as Congress struggled just to make sure that student loan interest rates stayed at 3.4% instead of doubling. And I'm thankful that Congress worked in a bipartisan manner to be able to extend the student loan interest rates and keep them low enough so our students could get the best education that they deserve. Student loan interest rates account for more debt than even credit card debt in this country, so it's a very serious situation. I'm very proud in this election to have the endorsement of groups like the Sierra Club, League of Conservation Voters, the New York Times, our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, and Governor Andrew Cuomo. I'm so proud to be here with all of you today, and I really look forward to working with you before the election and after the election, and I really encourage you to all stay involved. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Baldwin. This question is on the budget. How would you reduce the federal debt, and specifically what programs, departments, agencies, or budget items would you end or reform?
Some ideas we touched on briefly already. For example, I believe that there should be fewer subsidies to big oil companies. I believe that big corporations who are sending jobs overseas should not enjoy the corporate tax loopholes that they're currently enjoying. I think that we should take a closer look at the Defense Department. For example, there are weapons programs where we can minimize the amount that's spent. For example, we have fighter jets that we don't necessarily need anymore in America. We can reduce that number. We have aircraft carriers. We have 11 aircraft carriers in the United States. And in some other countries, I don't think any country has more than 2. So that's one area. Another area where we could increase revenue is the millionaire's tax, like I mentioned. We should make sure that millionaires pay their fair share.
I have a two-part question. Number one, just yes or no, do you believe in global warming? Do you believe in global warming?
Global warming?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Number two, do you support federal funding for the development of alternative energy?
Yes.
Do you support privatizing elements of Social Security?
No.
Can you please briefly explain why you changed your position on same-sex marriage in 2009?
I didn't change it. You know, I can give you a little bit about my background. My grandmother was the first one to come to this country. My grandmother's a very religious woman. We grew up in a Christian household. She still calls me when she's not sure if I went to church or not. She still prays for us every time she comes over for dinner. And the first time when I got elected, I didn't vote, no, I just abstained from voting. So, you know, it was something that I wasn't, you know, I felt that I wanted to make sure before I voted, which I supported the second time I had the opportunity, that no religious institutions would be able to be forced to marry two people of the same sex. And when that component was included in the legislation, then I supported it.
So, would you overturn or work to overturn the ban on gay blood donors?
Would I work?
I didn't hear that.
Would you work to overturn the ban on gay blood donors?
Yes.
What kind of legislation are you prepared to sponsor or back to bring more jobs to Queens? Please give specifics.
Well, legislation that I'm already working on in the state level, for example, we have a lot of increased opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses in New York State. I believe that veterans should benefit from programs like that as well. We should make sure that our veterans, many of whom are starting or want to start small businesses in this country, when they come back from serving in the war, protecting us, and ensuring that we have the freedom that we enjoy every single day of our lives, we need to make sure that they have opportunities too. So one of my focus areas would be for our veterans.
Assemblywoman, you've described yourself as an independent voice for the 6th Congressional District. Can you please specifically describe an issue in which you disagree on with Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver?
Sure. I say that I'm independent because when I first ran for office, I was told not to run by local Democratic leaders. I ran against the wishes of my own Queens County Democratic chairman. I had the support of 0 elected officials and 0 labor unions. So I do believe that the people put me in place. People gave me the opportunity to serve our community. And so that's how I've always governed and represented. I can think of a most recent example when I disagreed with Speaker Silver. We had a bill that was hailed as a very pro-tenant bill. Tenant advocates from all over the city supported it and are still mad at me to this day because I didn't vote for it. I voted against the speaker. I felt that this was a bill that was unfair to landlords and unfair to homeowners. And in return, I actually have sponsored legislation with a Republican state senator, Marty Golden, to overturn parts of the bill, which ended up being signed into law, but we have a bill to try to overturn it.
Do you support increasing sanctions in Iran if it continues to defy UN sanctions, or mandates, I'm sorry?
Definitely.
And could you name anything in particular you would try to do?
Well, I was proud to be in the New York State Assembly when we passed landmark legislation and made sure that any companies who are investing in Iran's energy sector, that New York State authorities, agencies, including CUNY and SUNY, can't do business with them. And so that's something that I would continue to advocate for on a federal level as well.
Continuing with foreign policy, should the United States support the creation of a Palestinian state?
Depends.
Can you expand on that?
We need to make sure that the Palestinians come to the table in full willingness and full intention to negotiate. And only if they recognize the right of the State of Israel to exist, to fully exist, and to fully protect herself.
This question's on immigration. Should the United States consider legalizing any of the illegal immigrants currently in the country, and if so, under what conditions?
The area where I would support this the most is for our young people. I am a strong supporter of the DREAM Act. I believe that there are students here who have come perhaps at age 2. Students who have known no other home, no other country, and in many cases, no other languages, and don't have even in some cases family or friends in their home country. These students are not here throughout their own fault. Their students are here because perhaps relatives or parents violated the law and overstayed, for example, their visas. So I do support allowing them to stay here.
Would you cut benefits or raise taxes to make the Social Security system fiscally solvent?
Taxes on millionaires, yes. To raise taxes, not to cut taxes.
Is President Obama doing a good job?
Yes.
Do you support the Federal DREAM Act?
I do.
Why do you support it?
Well, I touched upon it a little bit before. Like I said, these students, many of whom have come at a very young age, are here through no fault of their own. It's too costly for America to so-called round them all up, send them back to the countries, their home countries. We want them to stay here. We want them to go to a good school, get a good education, get a good paying job, and pay taxes back into our revenue.
Regarding Syria, is there anything you would do at this point?
Not right now. I think it's very important that we continue to monitor the situation.
For all the St. John students, what are you doing or planning on doing to help make the neighborhood surrounding St. John's safer for students?
Well, I'm very excited to